She studied ballet throughout the war, and when the war was over, they went to London. They had lost everything, so they were scraping together enough to get a ride over from Holland. My grandmother was concierge in the building, washing the stairs and taking care. My mom went to, actually I think she went over first and started going to school with Marie Rambert, who was the sacred monster of ballet at the time. She had taught Nijinsky and so forth.
Come on, say a little more.
After a short while, and after my grandmother came over, she asked Marie, she said, well, is there a chance for me to be a prima ballerina? And Marie was very nice about it and said, well, you can always teach here. You'll probably make a better career as a second ballerina, but no, I don't believe you're too tall, too big for the dancers to pick up. The war and the lack of nutrition and proper training and muscle development, all of these things taken into consideration. And my mother trusted her. Well, I think that especially at that young age, it was a terrible sinking and crashing feeling to not be able to have a career as a dancer. But then there wasn't much time to sort of sit there and feel bad about yourself. And it also wasn't part of her education. She sort of came from a very Victorian background, so you just get on with it. And then, you know, she got this little bit part in a remake of a film called Monte Carlo Baby. And she was in the south of France shooting, and Colette was there resting in the same hotel after having come back from New York, where she had just made a deal to turn Gigi into a musical. And she laid eyes on my mother and she said, I found her. So she's really the one responsible for her discovery. And years later, of course, when she got to do Funny Face with Fred Astaire, often people ask me which were her favorite films, and certainly Funny Face was a very important one because she got to sort of dance that dance that had been bottled up for years. And she was wonderful. She was a great dancer. But by then she was in her 30s. She didn't make as many films as a Betty Davis did or Elizabeth Taylor. I don't think that they were actually a favorite actor or director. She stayed in touch with several of them, also because they lived close by, and she spent time at her friend Connie Wall's house in Beverly Hills. And obviously Gregory Peck remained a lifelong friend because he was so genuine and so gentle himself. I don't know if you know this, but the credits on the film, she'd just been discovered and put in the film, and the credits were supposed to read Gregory Peck starring in Roman Holiday and introducing Audrey Hepburn. And very shortly after they started filming, Greg called his agent from Rome and said, you have to change that because I'm going to look like silly for doing this.
This girl is going to win the Academy Award in her first role, and her name must be up above the title with mine.
Tell you what, why don't we do all those things together?
But don't you have to work?
Work? No. Today's going to be a holiday.
And right after she did Roman Holiday, someone suggested that she should find someone to do the clothes, or she wanted to find someone. Anyway, I think she had great respect for clothes. For her, the most important thing was to be appropriately dressed. I remember the beautiful evening dresses, Givenchy always, and Valentino in Rome, peacoats in the winter, collars turned up, square-toed boots in the 70s, cotton pants and Lacoste in the summer, ballet slippers and a long robe around the house in the morning.
There'll be no crying.
She and Givenchy met very early on. He got a call announcing that Miss Hepburn was going to come and see him, and he was all excited, thinking that Miss Catherine Hepburn was going to come calling the next day. And the doorbell rang, and he opened the door, and there was this young thing in a gondolier outfit, if I remember properly. And they hit it off. They became best friends. And he always said that they did struggle over how to adapt, because ultimately people think that all those clothes were designed from scratch for the films. they were not. These were clothes from his collection. He was also building a career and didn't have time to stop and make things, out of the blue for the movies. So they would take things in his present collection and adapt them and work with them to fit them in the films. But in the end, she always knew what was best for her. It was a wonderful, lifelong collaboration, friendship. So she's always been attributed with this sort of style and, great elegance. But in the end, I think the great elegance came from within. And that's where it started.
I never could do that.
How do I look?
Moon river whiter than a mile, I'm crossing hue and style someday.
I don't want my hair cut. I don't want my eyebrows up or down. I want them right where they are.
Old dream.
I think the man who really invented the makeup, the Audrey Hepburn eyes, was a wonderful makeup man, first makeup man called Alberto De Rossi. And his wife Graziella, who's still alive and lives near Rome, is a wonderful friend. And I think it was probably one of the first times that people put on that much mascara and then took the time to separate each eyelash and just keep it very simple.